Welcome to season 2 of the Human Design Profiles and Entrepreneurship podcast. I'm your host, Chantelle. I'm a 1-3 MG, a small business strategist. I also facilitate workshops, and I'm the author of the Aligned Action series of books for solo entrepreneurs. Thanks for joining us on this podcast. It's all about an active learning experiment, how we experience entrepreneurship as individuals through our human design. Each episode profiles a human design enthusiast, business owner who is here to share about their introspection, how their personal profile lines have influenced their journey as entrepreneurs, how they use what they know about their profile to set intentions, and what this looks like for them personally in terms of the decisions that they make on a daily basis as business owners. Today, I'm connecting with Rani, who talks about digital entrepreneurship, spirituality, and video games. She creates content based on stories from her life experiences, mainly on Instagram. Her joy comes from being able to inspire people living their authentic expression, especially for those who believe there's a different way to live than following the system. Have a listen while today's guest, Rani, a 4-6, shares her story while you read between the lines. Would you say that you have always identified as a community person? The fourth line is very community oriented. Does it feel like that for you?
No, no,
Really?
no. I mean, right now I would, because I can start seeing how it actually unfold, like how opportunity wise, or rather just energy wise, like having a community feels not just feels nice, but most of my opportunities do come from like the co-working space community that I'm in. But before this, I always see myself as a very introvert solo person. Like there's the whole dichotomy of being a line four, being a split definition where you do need others, you need other people. But when during my high school time or even uni time, I always think myself of someone who can do it on my own.
And when did that change for you? When you discovered you were a 4-6, or did it come up more organically?
I feel like there has been some experiences like signs here and there. It's just not something that I would take it too much into consideration. Since knowing that I'm a line 4-6, I think that would be like the past 2 years. I did find it more like, are you sure I'm a community person? Like, is this not a joke? Like what? But it's starting to feel like, oh yeah, it is actually that way because times happen that if I strike on my own, like if I do the initiation, it might not work in the first go. I feel like there has to be some rapport, or if not a rapport, then someone else from the people that I know bring it in. Ultimately, the key here is align opportunities, right? And the align opportunity one is the one that I got through other people.
Yeah. So, would you say that most of your opportunities in your work come through your network? Does that line 4 thing feel true for you?
Yes, Chantal, I feel like most of the net opportunities that I've got is pretty much community or network or connections based. Like I remember even my first professional job that I've got, it's not from any job search,
Mhm.
it's from Facebook. Like it's through seeing that Facebook wall, Facebook post, and then like, oh, so and so is looking for someone who speaks both Japanese and Indonesian, and it's based in Indonesia because I'm from Indonesia, by the way. So at that time, I just came back from from Japan, which I did my undergrad at. And then I saw that and okay, sure, like, why not? Let's try. And it looks interesting because they're about to open a new branch. So
Mhm.
they're pretty much, it's kind of like a startup-y like where you're the like new people and then like you have chance to, make some actual improve, like actual thing, if that
Yeah,
makes
you get to
sense.
shape it as it grows.
You got to share it. Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
So that's like one example I can remember. And also, I don't know if this can be an example as well. Like, how did you find me?
We connected through a post from Erin Claire Jones. I don't remember exactly which post, but we connected via a comment section. So, yes, through a network.
Yeah, and I must say because I don't comment on other people's posts very often. So that is a very serendipitous moment, if I would
Uh-huh.
say.
Yeah.
And I feel like this is such a very generator attracting opportunity, being
Absolutely.
magnetic to that.
Yeah, that's true. And I agree. I'm not a big commenter or even a big reader of comments. I do not find myself lurking in comment sections. But when I first started this show, I had the idea that people would come to me fairly organically and that people would volunteer themselves in an equal distribution of the profiles. I don't know why I thought that because it makes total sense that it's not that way. But I thought that initially, and then I realized, oh no, you're going to have to do quite a bit of outreach for exactly half of the profiles. And the other half of the profiles, they'll come to you. So you'll get to respond, but in the other half, you'll get to initiate, which is kind of funny because as an MG, I get to initiate and respond. And so that's exactly how that's working with the podcast. Go figure.
Okay, I like that. Like initiate and then respond. So it's like half, half, and then it sounds like it's working. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. It's just nice to talk with people about human design, but through the lens of something other than type. We talk so much about what it's like to be a generator, what it's like to be a projector and manifestor, reflector, etc. But I think there's so much in the system of human design that we could dive into. And so I like having this slightly unique spin where we chat through profiles. And of course, we talk about other elements too, but it's just nice to give profile a bit of a place to shine, considering how often we talk about type.
No, absolutely. I like this angle, like throughout the profiles and see how it interacts in real life, especially in terms of entrepreneurship.
Yeah. And so, how did you embody the essence of a 4-6 when you shifted from applying for jobs to being an entrepreneur yourself?
Yeah, I do find that when I embody or rather express my experiences of my past job, like because it's a startup, so that means I learn about operationals. I report directly to the president. So that means HR, and then a bit of the troubleshooting IT, and then all of those nitty-gritty that people don't want to do, but you still need to do it anyway if you want the business to run. It's an experiment that I can implement. And then I don't know, it's not like I do anything particular. Probably it's from the aura. Like it might be something that other people see.
Mm.
Like, oh, this person, like there's an aura about that. This is not something I can attest to. I feel like other people who sees me might be a better speak, but I feel like that's gonna be the case.
That's super interesting to me about how maybe profile is something not only that we experience, but also as people interpret. So, like you said, when people are experiencing you as a 4-6, maybe they're witnessing you as a particular embodiment of that energy. And I like the aura word too, how you've moved into entrepreneurship and owning your own business that you are able to embody that 4-6 energy and have that reflect in the aura.
Yeah, yeah. And it is actually the four, line six, like it's the personality and design. Like personality is the conscious one, design is the unconscious one.
Mhm.
And the unconscious one is actually the ones where other people sees us, how
Mhm.
other people see us. So in this case, that means because line six is pretty much a role model, I would like to believe that how other people sees me. Without sounding bragging, but that's if you link it that way, then that's how it is.
Tell me about what being a 4-6 feels like for you now that you've been in your experiment for a while.
So I'm in the second half of
Mhm.
my line six for listeners who might be new to this. So for line six, typically it's divided into three phases. So phase one, that's like from the year we were born until around age of 30, I would say plus minus, or it's not like strictly 30, but like plus minus 30 here and there. That's like the time where it's a trial and error time. Like, so we kind of become a line tree where we tried things and then like, oh, if this doesn't work, okay, let's try something else. Now we know it doesn't work and then try something else. Now that it's lined in the second phase, it's a more quieter time, less trial and error, but this is how I interpret it. Like it's more like retreating and seeing things from the sidelines. It doesn't mean that I cannot do anything. Like I can still do, like do like try things and do some things as well. Basically, it's not like a restrictions, but it's more of integrating what I've learned from
Mhm.
this past 30 plus years. And then in the third phase, that would be after 50 years old. That's the time where we supposedly are like be the real self. I'm not sure if this makes sense, but it's like I imagine it's kind of like butterfly. So it's like from caterpillar, being a cocoon, and then being a butterfly, the real you, like being the role model that we are based on the whole life journey we have experience, integrate, and then becoming the embodied role model.
What a beautiful description. The perfect
Thank you.
analogy, the butterfly.
Thank
Yeah. So you said that you're in the middle phase now. So
you.
you're on the roof. What has that transition been like?
Yes. I can definitely feel the less hecticness, like from the first phase where like it's more about trial and error. Now there is still a bit of trial and error, but I do feel and I do notice that I'm more of, yeah, okay, I know some things already, what things work for me, what things don't work for me. So it's more about putting what I've learned into practice. So there used to be a time where I was like, yeah, I want to try this, join this activity, let's say in during uni or after work, like, yeah, I want to go to kickboxing class, let's say. I want to do this, I want to do that. But now I feel like it's more of being more selective of the kind of activities, the kind of people, the kind of work that I want to do. Yeah,
Yeah.
being more selective as well as more aligned, I guess. Not just choosing because this, and that, but it's more focus.
What I'm hearing is that there's this maturity to your decision making and maybe to your interests that is a result of all the wisdom that you've gathered.
Yeah, absolutely. I like the sound of that. There's more of gaining wisdom out of it. But I'm not saying that there's no room for trial and error. We still have rooms for that as well,
Hmm.
just not as much as it used to be.
So, with that new found-ish alignment, has that shifted anything in how you make decisions in your business?
It's more like I felt like I know my preferred style is let's try it. Let's try it. And then like if it fails, it's fine. But I do notice so in our team, like I read their human design and then we've got several three fives and then 4 6. And when I work with 3 5s, I would encourage them to, okay, give it a try. Like if you feel if they have some ideas and then they feel strongly about it, give it a try and see where it goes. But if we're talking about with 4 6, then I would really recommend them to stick with the people that they know, like the connections,
Mhm.
and focus more on that rather than email or cold selling.
That makes sense. So, how do you define what everyone's roles and responsibilities are on the team with those two profiles being represented?
I would say it's more on the working style rather than the roles because roles we try to give them freedom basically like okay what would you like to work on we need people who work on let's say marketing but in terms of what exactly they would like to do we try to see based on their skills their personality based on how they complement each other as well we try to balance things between what we need and what they would like to do so
Mhm.
it's more of the way I see it how these human design profiles play it's more on how we interact with them, like how we can guide them more so that they can do the work more aligned.
And is it a large team that you have? How many people are on the team?
Well, right now, we've got 5 people. They were marketing people that work with us. So there's me, and then I have a business partner who's a 3 5. Never, okay, this is my lesson. Never ever tell 3 5s to do things in a certain way. Always let them learn.
It's that three line experience. Although you have the six line where you operated as a three for a while, I think people with three in the conscious side simply can't understand without direct experience. I know, like
Yeah.
for me, three's in my unconscious, and that's a pretty big thing for me. But I can only imagine it if it were flipped and my three was conscious, how much more I would hold strongly to that. Yeah.
Yeah. And being a pseudo line 3 in my 20s, I can attest to this because I learned mostly through trial and error. As I said, I learn best through experiments. You only know once you experience it.
Right. Yeah, I can see that 3 5s being kind of the rebel. That would make sense to me.
But yeah, that's the day job. On the side, I'm also a coach.
You're in this unique situation where you've created your own day job. You're an entrepreneur in that sense, and you have the side hustle in addition to that. What does the coaching side of things look like for you right now?
Yeah, I'll be honest, like most of the coaching I do is pretty much pro bono. Like, for instance, what I did the other day was because I'm doing a market research for the company, the day job that I'm doing. And then as a gift, I will offer them, hey, I'm also doing this embodiment coaching for 30, 40 minutes. As a thank you, this is the offer. Feel free to take it or leave it,
Mhm,
basically. So that's what I did. And also to build my portfolio, because I just become coach, like certified one last year.
mhm.
So it's pretty much like collecting testimonials or even just exchanging with other coaches as well. So that's what's happened at the moment. And I'm brewing something in regards
Okay.
to my like actual offering. So stay tuned.
Oh, exciting. What a four-line way to build a business by leveraging your network to provide
Exactly.
coaching. I love that.
Yeah, I mean, exactly, because that's the thing. I feel like if I just call, email, or I don't know, hey, I'm a coach too. I mean, these days there's so many coaches. Like if you go to summits or like business events. The other day I went to one in London because I'm in the UK, women in business and women in technology or something like that. Lots of coaches. Like even there are at least two coaching booths that are there.
Mhm,
Yeah, so how do you differentiate yourself if you don't want to set up a booth or speak there, right?
totally.
Incidentally, I was with one of the Gen 46 marketing person, and then she actually introduced me to one of the coaches that I'm currently working with, exchanging coaching in tandem.
Yeah. The strategy of getting someone else to introduce you is a very supportive one for line fours in particular, of having that one personal connection, be able to connect you and expand the network organically that way. That sounds like a very good strategy for any 4 6 who is out there networking and maybe doesn't want to initiate expanding
Yeah.
their network in that way. With the team, do you find that you need to balance the collaborative work with the more individual work? Or put another way, do you find you need to balance social work time or also more of like a resting cycle?
I don't know if this is a fortunate or unfortunate way, but it is as it is. It so happens that between the four of us, so I'm a generator and, and my business partner is manifesting generators, and the marketing people we work with is generator and a manifesting generator. So it's not exact, like I don't think there's a rest cycle there because I can definitely see that the manifesting generators do have the capacity and capability to work around the clock. For me personally, because I have lots of undefined centers,
Mhm.
so my experience would be different from generators that have lots of their centers defined. So I can't do things around the clock. No, so I do need that rest. I do need that sleep, like before I try to sleep before 12 and then like have that 8, 7, at least 7, 6 hours sleep if I want to function like properly in the day.
And what about when you need other rest beyond just sleep? What kinds of activities do you find restful and supportive?
Yeah. In the morning I have like a meditation or a prayer and gratitude affirmation practice as well. And in the evening time, not every day, but when I can, I would do some sports. Like right now, my go-to would be squash.
Oh, fun. And I think
Yeah.
when I read your bio, I think you also mentioned video games. Is that something that feels
Yes.
restful or more energizing for you?
Yeah, I like to play story-based video game. Not just about aliens shooting spaceships or whatnot, but like actual human, real human stories. And it's like an experience, like I feel if you read books, like a very good story-based novels and whatnot, it will put you into the flow, right? What's gonna happen? What's next? So the last time that I played on January, I was playing Siberia, the world before. And it was basically about this lady who found out that her mother died, and then she left her some sort of like a heirloom, and then like seeing, hang on, this lady who looked exactly the same like her, but who is she? So it's like a journey to find out who this person is, and then finding identity you are. Like who's the past, like who you are, how is this connected, like some intergenerational things.
That's fascinating. I'm a big reader, and I agree with you about that, just how the storyline can be so encompassing, so immersive. And I would agree with you that it is very much a feeling of flow that sometimes you can then take and harness in a way to repurpose that flow into your experiences. Do you find that too?
Yeah, like for instance, when you're so inspired of something like an idea, then like, oh yeah, like while we have this momentum, I don't want to lose it. So like, let's work on it. The kind of flow being a split definition, this means that if I work on my own, like let's say on my own home, nobody's there, I might be able to finish some work that I know it needs to be finished, but if you expect me to work on something that's requires some inspiration, probably no. So I found that when I work in a co-working space, don't have to speak with the people, or I mean, it would be nice also to speak with the people, but at the very least, like sitting there and then just being able to focus on the work, it does make a difference.
I agree. I'm split definition as well. I need to have that energy to respond to. I'm also kitchen's environment though, so like that plays into it too, I think. But a co-working space or that creative hub kind of space feels like it can instigate flow that then I can regenerate the flow once I've witnessed it or once I've responded to it.
Yeah, I mean, it's like what you said, it's kind of like the vibe, right? The vibe
Mhm,
of the place as well.
mhm.
And because not all co-working space will work with you, not all cafe work as well.
Yeah, I agree with that. It has to be a very specific feeling. Recently, I did a staycation with a few other business owners, and they were doing a photo shoot. I wasn't like actively involved, but I found it easy at that time to go through a lot of emails that I'd been avoiding, sitting there at the staycation while their photo shoot was going on, harnessed that energy, and I turned it into response energy, and I just went through the emails like knock this one off, knock this one off. I got into a bit of a responding flow because I could sense that that energy was generative, and I wanted to use that and harness it in what I was doing.
Yeah, and I resonate with that. There are times where if you're in a certain group of people and in a certain place, then it does work. Like if we can pass the zone of like I just want to chill, but if you pass that zone of really work zone, that can do wonder.
Yeah, I agree. Okay. So you have some openness in your chart. I know you have open throat, open ego, open emotional center. Tell me a little bit about the open throat. What does that feel like for you? What's your experience?
Oh yeah, I should have clarified to you. It's actually undefined throat and undefined ego and open solar
Ah,
plexus, but
great.
I would say it's pretty similar. But anyway, for me, having an undefined throat does feel like it's not like some people like they can just talk and talk and talk. For me, I need to be prompted. If I meet the right people who actually listen and or at least show that they are listening and they ask, or even if they don't ask, if they show that they are listening, I can talk more. And usually I found that the dynamic happens if they have defined throat. Let's say that with one of my friends, he has a defined throat and then he likes to ask the questions. And I just talk, basically. I just talk, talk, talk. But in general, like I don't talk like that
Right,
much.
right. Yeah,
Yeah.
I have a defined throat. I have the 2034 channel, and
Mhm.
I also have a hanging gate 23. It works well for podcasting for sure to have that definition and to be able to chat with guests. So hopefully you feel with our connection illuminated right now while we record, hope you feel that defined throat energy where it makes it a little bit easier to share and
Yeah,
express.
yeah, it does. And also you remind me because I do have the hanging gate of 56
Mhm.
and either an 11 or a 13. Basically that channel or the gates where it's a listening and those who are reflect like using that information to listen. So if I'm switching place with you, let's say if I'm the host of a podcast, I can ask the questions. Like I'll let's dig. I'll ask the questions. I can do that.
Yeah, it's so interesting to
Yeah.
hear everyone's different gate expressions. We talk so much about certain aspects of design again because it's foundational and because it's important to build that awareness around our type, strategy, and authority. But I love getting into those deeper conversations of each little gate and how that's expressed, whether, it's part of a full channel or whether it's undefined, or like if you notice yourself bridging that with somebody, like I have the 23 hanging gate. I have a lot of clients who have the 43 hanging gate, that whole like freak genius channel. And then together we can do really good work together. So, like you said, where you've got that other energy coming in that you can feel, and then when you can bridge that transit, it's so interesting.
It does. There's a synergy and then like things flow.
Absolutely. Yeah. Another thing that
Mhm.
you and I have in common in our charts is undefined emotional center, or wait, mine's undefined, yours is
Open.
okay.
Yeah.
So I'm curious about your experience of that. Let's see how it lines up with mine.
Yeah. Being an open solar plexus, so solar plexus here pretty much talk about emotions. And it's also an awareness center on top of it being and energy center as well. Yeah. So for me, there are times where I feel very emotional, but I feel like the example would be mostly like when let's say I watch movies or I read books that are very emotional, tear jerking, then yes, the tears will flow. And like being in the position of being able to imagine what if I'm becoming that character. So that could stay until after the movies.
Hmm.
The feeling, the experience, it's all there.
Hmm. I resonate with
And
that.
you
I
resonate with that
find
as well.
I do. I always describe it as I catch feelings from books. I'm not much of a TV watcher or a movie watcher, really. I primarily read with most of my time. And I I find if I'm reading a book that is unsettling, I am unsettled. If I'm reading a book that is hopeful, I'm hopeful. And I have to really consciously disengage with that energy. Sometimes if it's a book that has sort of that murky feeling to it, I'll read it quicker than normally I would because I want to finish it, but I want to be out of that energy. I want to close the cover on that feeling and then get back to my own emotional state.
Yeah. It's funny, you mentioned books as well. I just reminded with music because I like to listen to music.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've got playlists of like empowerment playlists or like those other playlists. And then I feel like let's say that I'm in a more mellow, a bit more of a, yeah, melancholic type of emotions, it might feel, I'll tend to feel more emotional. Like I tend to feel more crying or whatnot. So that's why like if I'm gonna prepare for, say, having meeting or like just go to work from co-working space, I try my best when in that emotional state to listen to more empowering songs so that I feel more empowered, not feeling more melancholic.
That's a great way to use your own susceptibility to your advantage. I agree with that
Yeah.
totally.
Yeah. I mean, success rate, not all the time is gonna be 100%, because there are times where I'm too emotional to do anything else. And when I say emotional, it's usually after interacting with some people. So it's like, okay, you know what? There's that tendency to catch their emotion as well. I don't know if that's a similar experience for you.
Very much. Yes.
Yeah. And because of the whole emotion thing, so I kind of want to link it back with the throat because I have the 56 and it's hanging gate with the solar plexus. If I speak about my experience, about emotion, I find that people tend to listen and I feel more confident saying it. But if, let's say, I speak about facts or something that has data or something that's more logic based kind of thing, for some reason, I don't feel like people are receptive.
With what I know about how we experience our open centers, our undefined centers, and our defined centers, for me, I only have the one undefined center. Everything else is defined. And I've seen a lot of content around like you sell from your open centers or you sell from your undefined centers. And if you replace the word sell with just connect, so if you connect through your open centers, then I've only got the one. And so I'm like, okay, well, I have emotions. That's what I've got. I've got feelings, and that's my way of connecting. Feeling is the gateway really into any conversation or interaction. And especially like for me, because I do a lot of educational content, I
Mhm.
I can do that well through analogies and through stories. And
Mm,
also just that receptivity to holding space for other people's emotions really helps with
yeah.
that because I am not going to shy away from any feelings that come up. So it feels like a safe space for people to express emotions because I am open there. And so I do have that ability to be receptive and responsive.
Mm. It's really important on the people that we surrounded ourselves with because I feel like I'm sure you agree with this as well. Like our like general default state would be a neutral. But then there are times when it suddenly picks up or not, then either it's coming from, for in my case, it could happen from my biological state depending on which time of the month, but also the person that we just interact. If we just talk about something very emotional, even if I was okay, or maybe the other person seems okay, but after we disengage from the conversation, if I check into myself, oh my gosh, why am I feeling so emotionally exhausted? Or feeling emotionally excited in one end or the other, that can be too much. So this is something that I've experienced recently. So either I have to do some emotional clearing. I do embodiment practice as well. So like if there's some sadness getting stuck there, like letting it out and then like crying it out, or if it's some frustration or if it's some anger, then also like I stomp my feet, basically stomp my feet and then like do this grunting sound like ugh like that.
Mhm.
Yeah, so I would say, yeah, being aware of what kind of people around surrounding us, and also when there's that stuck emotions, let's let it out. Otherwise, it's gonna fester in your body and be a long-term health problems that you don't want to have.
Yeah, that's fantastic advice for all of us with emotional centers being open or undefined. I could definitely stand to do more of that myself. I tend to use breathing as my main practice to shift energy and to clear energy. I recently
Mhm.
read that like just pushing into a wall, like pressure into the wall is a really grounding practice. So I wonder if that one would be a supportive practice for those of us with open or undefined emotional centers.
Yeah, and try whatever works with you.
Yeah. We are going to shift now into our closing ritual for this episode. So,
Mhm.
if you're ready, you and I will take a deep breath in together and let that go. I'll draw a card from the custom affirmations deck created by Christina from Glow Glow Juice HD. The card reads, I honor my need to seek truths and ground in those who I deeply trust. How can I make space for my personal quest today?
By owning my truth and trusting on my truth and believe that when I share my truth, it will be okay. People will believe in it.
Beautiful. Rani, where can people connect with you?
Yeah, you can connect with me on my Instagram, which is Rani at Rani Hari underscore, and also LinkedIn. If people here are into LinkedIn, you can find me as Maharani Hariga.